If you'd like the ability to live in Europe on a tax-friendly basis, whenever you want, either now or in the future, without the obligation to ever do so if you don't want to, then one of the best ways to give yourself that option is to have a golden visa. A number of European countries have them. But the problem is, the investment required for these golden visas has gone up over the years. And now another European country is threatening to raise the price. So we're talking about Greece's golden visa. A number of years ago, we told you that was the most affordable golden visa program in all of Europe, and in some cases, it still is. Why are golden visa prices going up? It happened in Portugal. It's happened in other countries. Some programs have simply gone away. Well, for the programs that are raising their prices, the answer is simple supply and demand. Greece was, partially because of the lower price on some of its investment options, the #1 golden visa in 2023. But here's the perspective that I constantly try and bring with you. And this was cemented when I met a banker of mine at a dinner recently in Asia. And she said, yeah, we would much rather have wealthy Indonesians, wealthy Vietnamese, than we would have the wealthy American or the wealthy Canadian. If you look at golden visas, if you look at citizenship by investment programs, there's a very small number of people in most of these countries that are coming from the West. The biggest market is actually from emerging countries where people want to give their family the plan B that they've always known they needed to give them, but that the West is just discovering post-pandemic, post-crazy tax hikes, post-everything that's changing in the West. Now Westerners are deciding. And so the Western mindset is, well, why don't they want our money? Because there's so much other money coming from other places. Americans are a relatively large contingent of Portugal's program, but most of the rest of the countries, it's dominated by people from all over the emerging world. And so, to me, that's a reminder that we all need to have a plan B. As I've traveled over the world, I've seen these people always realize they needed a plan B, and now we're realizing it too. So, let me go through Greece's golden visa options. What I think Greece is good for is you want a golden visa that gives you the access to live in Europe whenever you want without really much, if any, obligation to do so, but you're not as interested in citizenship. So Greece, in our opinion here, is less likely to grant citizenship to people who aren't ethnically Greek. Now, you can live in Greece now with some of their tax options. They do have some tax incentives. You can be an entrepreneur, you can be a retiree, you can pay a pretty low rate of tax under a few of their different tax programs. So it can be a tax-friendly country, meaning if you wanted to move to Greece full-time, it wouldn't be some terrible tax hit for you. You wouldn't be suddenly paying half your income as long as you structure it properly. But if you're not looking to move to Greece, and even if you are, I'm not convinced that you get citizenship. So Greece's golden visa is, I want to invest a little bit less money, and I'm not as focused on citizenship on the other end, either because I only am happy with my current citizenship, maybe I'm going to get citizenship in the Caribbean, maybe I'm getting citizenship by descent in some other European or American country. For whatever reason, maybe you're covered on citizenship somewhere else. Portugal was always the country that historically was easier at granting citizenship without a lot of physical presence. Greece is more of a lifestyle option if you just want access. Now, any golden visa, once you're in Europe's Schengen area, you can move around freely. Keep in mind, Greece on the Schengen area map, it is separated by the Western Balkans, which are not part of the European Union and not part of the Schengen area. So anytime that you want to move around the rest of Europe from Greece, it's either on a plane or, I guess, on a boat. And so you don't have that ability just to get on a train or get in the car, really, and just move around the Schengen area. That could be a further complication. But obviously, when I was looking at villas recently, beautiful villas in Greece. Let's talk about the requirements for Greece's golden visa program now, because they did raise the price not that long ago on the real estate options. So if you go to Athens, if you go to Mykonos, if you go to Santorini, and a number of other places around there, it's a €500,000 real estate investment. That is up from the 250,000 euros that all the other regions still charge. And so it was always 250,000 euros. And they said, hey, people are buying in these top places. Same thing that Portugal did. Number one, we don't want to bother the people politically who live in those areas, especially Athens. We don't want all the prices to go up and be blamed for foreign speculation and housing crises and all that. And hey, we can get more money out of people. So 250 in the other areas, smaller islands, smaller urban areas, 500K in some of the big areas and some of the more popular islands. Also some restrictions on how you can divide that money up or not divide it up in certain cases. So you're looking at the 500K level, buying a property or buying more than one, but in the same building. So the idea of just buying properties, to add up to it became less available. So if you're happy to buy outside of Athens, Mykonos, Santorini, I think parts of Thessaloniki, 250,000 euros makes it pretty much the cheapest golden visa option, albeit again, maybe not with as much of a path to citizenship. 400,000 euros alternative investment fund can also be a pathway if you don't want real estate. At a certain point, I have a number of properties around the world. At a certain point, do I want to be in Greece? If I don't, I just want the golden visa. Maybe I just want to put money into a financial instrument, alternative investment fund. Government bonds, also 400,000. 400,000 into an existing company, not necessarily start your own company, but someone has a business, you're going to invest, you're going to get some shares. 400,000 into Greek mutual funds. Now, you've seen a number of these smaller countries in Europe. I mean, Bulgaria had a program not that long ago. And you look at some of those fund options, I mean, they are not as robust because they want companies that are actually investing in Greece. I mean, even the difference between, the largest companies in the US, $3 trillion, and the largest company in the UK market, I mean, a couple hundred billion dollars. Imagine what that difference is in Greece. I mean, these are not as robust companies. Not saying they're bad companies, but they're not as big. And so 400,000 euros in that. There's also, kind of bank deposit options. What the government is basically saying is we might raise almost all those thresholds. It's possible that the 250,000 euros that makes this the most affordable program could go up to the 500,000 euros, and now everything's 500,000 euros. But then it's also talked about that those Athens and Thessaloniki, Mykonos, Santorini, there was talk of 800,000 euros. Now, again, just looking about 6 to 8 weeks ago at villas in a number of Southern European locations, I think Greece actually has some of the most beautiful supply. It's at a lower price point in the south of France. It's more tax-friendly, both on just the acquisition side, as well as just if you were to live there full-time. Like, France is just a killer on all fronts. I just don't see the value, quite frankly, in France. I found Greece to be superior to supply in Italy. Perhaps it competes with Spain, but I think, again, Greece is just more friendly all around. So, could you find a place for 500 to 800,000 euros if you want an island getaway? Quite possibly. And that could be a nice lifestyle investment that then gives you and your family access to live in Greece. That if you want a place to go, if you want access to Europe, if you want a backup plan for whatever next black swan event happens. I see Greece more as a lifestyle play, though, where, again, my passports are covered somewhere else. I want to diversify some assets into property or into one of these other financial instruments, bonds, mutual funds, banks, could be interesting. But they're saying 500,000 up to 800,000 could be the options. No exact word on what could happen to those 400,000 euro levels, but we can only imagine those will go up. We saw in Portugal, real estate was restricted, then they got rid of it. Then the fund option went from 350,000 to 500,000 euros. Then the funds were restricted in terms of what they can invest into, where the real estate related funds were rooted out. And so this is the trend. And it's just like what we've seen with citizenship by investment. Citizenship by investment still doable. Prices have not gone up, at least as a whole. There's still a $100,000 options for citizenship by investment, and that could pair very well, by the way, with a Greek golden visa. But the requirements for citizenship by investment have gone up. Now you've got to do an interview. Now there's some more forms to file. I think over time, the requirements could become more difficult. I don't think the requirements per se, in terms of background checks and that kind of thing for a golden visa, are going to be more difficult, but the price is going to go up. And so what I say to myself is, if you are making more money in your business, if you're making more money in this Bitcoin and crypto market run-up, I don't want to wait until it's too late. I don't want to wait until the screws get put to me on tax. I don't want to wait until they put some new tax law into effect. And I don't want to wait until the next black swan event happens and I wish I had a backup plan. And so I think that what I always tell you is, if there's a program that you like, a citizenship, a residence, a golden visa, get it while you can. We had clients that we told, hey, Turkey's citizenship program, where you buy real estate and you get a passport for life, $250,000. Buy the property, sell it in 3 years. If you work with our people, I think ostensibly you could have turned a profit on that deal. And I think we have some people who will, because we have people from 2020 who are looking at selling their properties now. You get paid to get a passport. Now, if you just go and buy some property from some shyster developer advertising at the airport, you're going to lose half your money, which is why I think that working with Nomad Capitalist is actually worth it, because you pay a fee, but you end up in the long run saving a lot of money. But that deal, we told our clients, $250,000. it was going to go up to $400,000. Now it's going to go up again because there's just so many people piling in. And by the way, real estate in Istanbul has gone up to where it's not really insanely cheap anymore. And so if you got it at the 250 level, not only did you get a passport, but you got a property that probably went up in value. Certainly in lira terms, but in dollar terms as well. It's not just, lira terms. You actually made money in dollars. Obviously, Greece, I mean, if you're buying property on an island, I mean, there's enough of that supply. They keep building out supply. That's why I call it more of a lifestyle option. Maybe in Athens, there's a case to be made. I do think there's some very rough areas of Athens that are slowly gentrifying, that if you were to buy there, there's some potential. The challenge now is that with this new rule, you can't just buy a bunch of little cheap properties. So that could restrict liquidity. If you're buying a 500,000 euro property in an area that's gentrifying, I think that could be difficult. The bottom line is, if there's a residence program you like, do it. I think that having residence in Europe, particularly if it leads to citizenship, but even if it doesn't, is not a bad thing to have because you potentially, you could move around the region. You have the ability to travel around Europe. And so I think having at least one residence, at least one citizenship, and maybe the bank accounts and the structures that come with that is important. And if you ever decide to live in Greece, you could dramatically reduce your taxes, even though it's not a low tax country, because they have tax incentives for foreigners that are more friendly than Portugal. So this is the thought process. The bottom line is Greece golden visa raising its price. The deeper bottom line is all the golden visas are raising their price or they're just going away entirely. And every time that happens, there's people who call us frantically saying like, oh my God, like let's do it. I've done this for many years now. When I get a passport, when I get a residence program, like it's never pleasant to part with the money. Obviously, it's more pleasant if you can get bonds or a house in return because it's not really moving off your balance sheet. But it's always a little bit anxiety inducing to make that investment or make that donation. But I look back and say, I'm glad I have the residences. I'm glad I have the passports. And I don't regret getting them 3 years too early because there's stuff I got that you can't get anymore. And so understand there's a lot of wealthy people out there in the world who want the options. I think, and I've been telling you for 11 years now, I mean, the US and the West is heading the wrong direction. People are realizing it. Now you're seeing Americans, you're seeing Canadians, you're seeing British citizens getting in on the action. But you're competing with everybody else other places. You're competing with Chinese money, African money, money from the Arabic world, money from South America. They're driving up these prices. So why not just do it now? And the thought process I'm giving you here is the thought process that we work through with our clients. Because when you go to Greece and you just knock on the door of some lawyer, they might charge you a very low price to do the golden visa. But then they're going to say, oh yeah, I know this developer. They do a great job. And maybe the developer pays them a 15 or 20% commission, which means you've basically lost 15 or 20% of your 500,000 euros. Wouldn't it just be cheaper to have someone, to pay someone to represent you? That's what we do at Nomad Capitalist. We're not in the game of taking fat commissions. In fact, it disgusts me. I mean, we've seen commission offers as high as 22%. I don't know how you can treat your clients like that. Obviously, we're imperfect like anybody else, but our intentions are, I want you to get a property that you have enjoyment from, or you make a profit on, or both when you're getting it for residence and citizenship. If you want to learn about that process, nomadcapitalist.com/apply is where you find out more about it. And quite frankly, I think a lot of people who are getting the Greek golden visa probably don't realize that, yes, you can apply for citizenship. I think it's 7 years from now. People have been telling me even before I started this business, when I was just researching it, that the citizenship is just not something that they give away as freely as Ireland with its non-dom tax system, or Portugal with its golden visa, which even though it's laboriously slow right now, they're making some efforts to make good on it, it seems. And so if you just get the golden visa where you can apply for citizenship and then it comes time to apply and your just application sits on a desk, I mean, none of us can ever know exactly what's going to happen, but too many people are buying product. And it's possible that Greece isn't the right golden visa. Maybe you shouldn't rush into Greece for the 250,000 euro level. Maybe if you worked with me, I'd tell you, listen, go over here, invest a little bit more, but you're going to get this, this, and this, and it's worth it. And I'll find you a deal that you can actually make a profit on rather than, going here and losing your shirt. There's just so many things involved in this. But just be aware prices are going up. Nomad Capitalist is here to help. We're talking about all this stuff this year at Nomad Capitalist Live. You can join us at our annual event for that. And you can go to nomadcapitalist.com/apply if you want to figure out which golden visa is best for you.